hidden cost of betting player props is not always the bet that loses. Sometimes the real cost is the price you paid before the game even started. That sounds obvious, but it is the part most beginners skip. They look at a player prop and ask, do I like this over? Do I like this under? Does the matchup feel good? Has this player hit the number lately? And those questions matter. But if you only think about whether a pick can win, you are missing the question that actually decides whether the bet is worth making. What did it cost you to take that position? Because player props are not just predictions. They are prices. Every line, every payout, every multiplier, every boost, every discount, every app layout is quietly telling you how expensive your opinion is. Let me show you what I mean. If a sportsbook posts a prop at minus 110 on both sides, a lot of people see that as normal. You risk 110 to win 100. That is just how betting works, right? But the math underneath is the whole point. Minus 110 means you need to win a little over 52% of the time just to break even, not 50%. Not, I think this is slightly more likely than not. You need to be right often enough to beat the price. That extra gap is the VIG. It is the tax built into the market. And with player props, that tax can get sneaky because props are usually less efficient than main markets, but they can also be harder to price correctly. Injuries, minutes, usage, matchups, coaching, game script, blowouts, foul trouble, weather, lineup changes, and news all matter at the same time. So when you take a prop without understanding the price, you are not just betting against the stat. You are betting against the platform's margin, the market movement, and your own tendency to overrate the information that feels easiest to understand. That is hidden cost number one. The break-even number is higher than it feels. Hidden cost number two is the payout structure. This is where a lot of pick'em apps get people. A 2-pick entry looks simple. A 3-pick entry looks more exciting. A 4 or 5-pick entry looks like you are finally getting paid for being right. But every extra leg changes the math. The entry does not just become one pick harder, it becomes a chain of separate events that all have to survive. If each leg is roughly a coin flip, 2 legs is not close to 50-50. 3 legs is not close to 50-50. 4 legs falls off fast. And when the payout is lower than the true odds of hitting that many legs, that difference is the hidden price. That does not mean every multi-leg entry is bad. It means the payout has to justify the actual probability, not the excitement you feel when the multiplier gets bigger. This is why the weakest leg matters so much. A lot of beginners build around one pick they love, then add 2 or 3 picks they only kind of like because the card looks better with a bigger payout. That is not adding edge. That is charging yourself extra for entertainment. Hidden cost number 3 is correlation. Correlation can help you, or it can quietly wreck you. If you take a quarterback passing yards over and a receiver receiving yards over, those outcomes might be connected. If you take 2 players whose minutes depend on the same injury news, those outcomes might be connected too. The issue is that the payout screen often makes each leg feel independent, but sports do not work like independent coin flips. One injury update, one pace change, one blowout, one coaching decision, or one weather shift can affect multiple picks at once. That means your lineup might be riskier than it looks. Hidden cost number 4 is the promo. Boosted picks, discounts, protected plays, special squares, free entries, lowered lines. These can be useful, but they are not automatically gifts. The whole point of a promo is to get your attention and shape your behavior. Sometimes the discount is genuinely valuable. Sometimes it is just valuable enough to make you add a second or third leg you would not have taken otherwise. That is the trap. The promo gets you in the door, but the extra decisions are where the platform makes the money back. So the question is not, is this discount good? The question is, what does this discount make me do next? Now this is where Parlay fits into the process. Parlay helps you look at a pick with live context, current stats, matchup information, and top AI models before you lock it in. It is not just looking at a season average and giving you a yes or no. It can help you pressure test the pick, compare the context, and ask whether the line is actually worth the price. And because Parlay reflects on losses over time, the process can get sharper instead of repeating the same mistakes. If a pick loses because the minutes changed, the matchup read was weak, or the market already adjusted, that matters. You want the system learning from that instead of treating every loss like random noise. You can check it out at Parlay CC. The big idea is simple. A good prop bet is not just a pick that can win. A good prop bet is a pick where the price is wrong enough to matter. That is a very different standard. Because this player has hit this in 6 of the last 10 games is not enough by itself. Maybe the role changed. Maybe the opponent plays slower. Maybe the number moved. Maybe the book already adjusted. Maybe the matchup everyone is talking about is already priced in. The hidden cost is paying full price for information the market already knows. This is why chasing hit rates can be dangerous. A 60% hit rate sounds amazing until you realize the sample is tiny, the role changed, or the line moved from 12.5 to 15.5. At that point, you are not betting the same prop anymore. The old result does not automatically apply to the new price. So before you place a player prop, ask 3 questions. First, what is my real break-even point? Second, is this line actually off, or do I just like the player? Third, am I adding legs because they add edge or because the payout screen is making me greedy? That is the difference between having an opinion and having a process. And once you start seeing props as prices, the whole game changes. You stop asking, can this hit? Of course it can hit. Almost anything can hit once. You start asking, would I still take this if the app did not make it look exciting? Would I still take this if the payout was shown as a break-even percentage? Would I still take this if I had to explain why the market is wrong? That is where most weak bets fall apart. The hidden cost of player props is not just losing money on a bad pick. It is paying too much for a decent pick, adding weak legs to a strong one, and mistaking a fun-looking payout for a real edge. If you fix that, you do not need to bet more. You need to pay better prices for better reasons.